If we are being honest, Burkina Faso is proving that true independence was never going to come from diplomatic partnerships. It comes from cutting ties with your oppressors. Since Captain Ibrahim Traore expelled French troops in 2023, the Western world has been shaking. Why? Because for the first time in decades, an African country is showing that when you take control of your land, your people, and your resources, you win and you win big. And now the same Western media that used to call Burkina Faso unstable is watching in disbelief as the country rebuilds itself from the ashes of colonial interference. There have been reports online that suggest that Burkina Faso has earned $18 billion from gold mines since Ibrahim Traore became leader in 2022. And this is how France responded to that fact. Okay, guys, let's talk numbers and reality now. Let's talk. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's largest gold producers. Since Traore's government took over in 2022, the nation has reclaimed its gold sector, nationalized key mines, and renegotiated unfair contracts that gave foreign corporations up to 90% of the profits. Government officials say the country has now earned over $18 billion from its gold sector, money that previously never reached the Burkinabé people. That's because for decades, France controlled the flow of gold through its multinational companies, French banks, French refineries, French aid agencies, all taking from Africa while pretending to help. But here's the biggest insult of them all. Western media had the audacity to call France the world's leading gold producer, even though France doesn't have a single active gold mine on its soil. So where was the gold coming from? From Africa, of course, from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Central Africa, through colonial contracts and extraction networks that funneled African gold straight into European vaults. That's not economics, that's theft dressed up as trade. Captain Ibrahim Traore's leadership is shaking the very foundation of neo-colonialism. He expelled French troops, as I've mentioned previously, closed French bases, and cut off foreign NGOs that acted as intelligence fronts. Instead, he called on African unity, forming alliances with Mali and Niger to create the Alliance of Sahel States, a regional defense pact designed to protect African interests without Western oversight. He raised teachers and soldiers, salaries improved, grain storage to fight hunger, and launched massive public works programs using Burkina's own gold revenue instead of French aid. And suddenly, the same Western institutions that stayed silent during years of corruption under French control are now shouting authoritism. Why? Because Traore is doing what they fear most, making Africa independent. The propaganda is laughable. They call Burkina Faso unstable. They call Traore a dictator, but they never said a word when Western-backed regimes were starving the people and selling the country's gold for pennies. They didn't say anything. They pretend to love democracy, but what they really love is control. Control through the CFA franc, control through mining contracts, control through fake NGOs that collect intelligence and call it aid. So when Burkina Faso stood up and said no more, the propaganda started flying, because if one African nation succeeds at real independence, others will follow, and that scares them. And that's their West nightmare.
Well, we need to work to decolonize the mindsets, to overthrow the regime in Upper Volta. It might not be necessary to bring in heavily armed mercenaries. It is simply enough to prohibit the import of champagne or lipstick, I don't know, or nail polish. That's enough to overthrow us. Because the petty bourgeoisie today is convinced that they cannot do without these products. Well, we need to work to decolonize the mindsets. We are working to recondition our people to accept living as they are, not to be ashamed of their realities, to be content with them, and even to take pride in them. It's fine if others live like that, but it's normal for us to live differently. Well, we need to work.
We are witnessing the rebirth of Thomas Sankara's dream, the same revolutionary spirit they tried to bury decades ago. Burkina Faso is building new trade partnerships with other African nations, strengthening its military and investing in education and agriculture. They've proved that sovereignty isn't a slogan, it's a decision. The message is clear. You don't need France to survive. You need your land, your people, and your willpower. And the fact that the Western media still can't digest that tells you everything about whose side they are on. It tells you everything about their character. Burkina Faso kicked out its colonizers and started winning politically, economically, and psychologically. I mean, it's commendable. France lost control. Africa found courage. So the question is, who's next? Who will be brave enough to say no more foreign masters, no more stolen gold, no more lies? I mean, I think Madagascar is on that bandwagon with the recent coup. I am very proud of Madagascar for reclaiming its power. I'm so glad and I'm so proud of Madagascar youth standing up to the injustice that they face under the French regime. I am so glad that they stood up, and I'm so glad that there is a new government that will now respect its people, put its people first, and move away from the colonial grip of France. It's enough that we ungrip ourselves from our colonizers. And you know what? And it's so true. I think the West is coming to realize that if one African nation can truly live in their independence, and I'm talking economical independence, the rest of the continent will follow. And that is what scares them the most. And that is why they are banking on the DA from the SADC region, from the southern part of Africa, to take over, to take grip of power, so the influence of Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore doesn't spread throughout Africa. They are banking on the DA right now. There is an espionage of power and takeover. There's espionage going on right now from the global north to Africa. Because on one side, we have the western side, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, that have expelled their colonizers. And on the other side, we have South Africa that is still battling with their colonizers. We're still battling with the grip of the colonizers that are still sleeping, under the nightmare, or not under the nightmare. They're still sleeping under the dream, under the guise of colonialism. South Africa is still happy about their proximity to whiteness, but they don't realize that geopolitically, they're putting themselves at a disadvantage, and they are about to undo what the Western countries have done, and which is expelling their colonizers. Right now, the Western countries, the EU, the United States, are banking on the DA to rule South Africa. With the DA ruling the most successful economy in Africa, their chances of coming back and recolonizing the poorer states of Africa is a guarantee. So right now, Africa is going through a pull and grab. It's being pulled in different opposite direction. It's just so sad that South Africa will become Africa's undoing. But I'm not going to dwell on that. That's a chat for another day. I am so glad that countries are now seeing that Burkina Faso is living in its true independence economically, and they are following. And I have high hopes for Madagascar. It is next. With the minerals in Madagascar, they can enrich themselves, they can transform the economy, they can live and experience true democracy. Not democracy that comes from the West and is packaged as freedom, when in reality it's control. So I'm so glad that Burkina Faso's gold production is increasing, meaning money is coming in. The finances are improving. The institutions will surely be revived, and they will no longer live under NGOs, humanitarian aids, foreign aids that come as a guise of saying we are helping, when in reality they are funneling the gold production and the finances back to Europe. So I'm so glad that Ibrahim Traore is that man right now. The reports are true. It has been verified. I did verify it through Grok. Can't believe I used Grok, but anyway, I verified it through Grok and ChatGPT, and it is true that since 2022, the gold produced in Burkina Faso can be estimated to over $18 billion. And what's happening to France? France's economy is collapsing. French banks can't even maintain their finances. It's collapsing. I've heard about the economy of France. It is bad. It is bad. But that's what happens when you put a leader that sleeps with old women or old men. I don't even know. Is she a woman or a man? Candace Owen says she's a man. But anyway, that's what happens when you put a spineless leader, a spineless thief, a spineless leader that sleeps with old men for power and think that, you know, he can boss us around. Ibrahim Traore and the other Western countries saw right through the president of France BS, just so that, oh, if this man can marry an old man and pretend that this is my wife, chances of him being bullied in the bedroom are very high. So why should we be led by someone that is being bullied in the bedroom when we are strong African men? Emmanuel Macron is a joke. What do you think about this segment? Comment to us in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share the broadcast, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss these groundbreaking conversations right here on the African Diaspora News channel. And oh, family, you know, I come back. I have my own YouTube channel. It's called The Native Talk. The link is in the description box. So do go to the description box, click on the link, subscribe to The Native Talk. We talk everything African politics, the cultural dynamics that shape this continent, and your favorite South African destination that you like to travel one day with me as your tour guide. But until then, good night.